Hi friends, I wanted to create a video to speak directly to my YouTube audience today to let you know what I'm up to and invite you to participate if you're interested. So if you're familiar with my work, you probably know that what motivates what I do is to share how you can discover and live a truthful, authentic, meaningful, purposeful, integrated life, one in which you can know the truth of yourself at all levels and experience and express that so that you can experience the peace, harmony, and truth directly for yourself. And I know how important that is, and that's why I share it, and I see how that can be immensely beneficial for people. So that's the context of what I share. And a lot of this stemmed from a direct revelation that I had many years ago through the teachings of Ramana Maharshi. Through direct self-inquiry, there was a direct revelation, which is not that difficult to have, and I'll invite you to discover it directly for yourself if you haven't already, that everything that is occurring is existing in awareness. And so if you just notice, it's quite simple. There's nothing outside of awareness. There's no possibility of anything outside of awareness. If you even conceive of anything outside of awareness, that conception itself is still happening in awareness. So there's no way around that. You can try as you like, but you'll see directly that everything is arising and resolving in awareness. And that awareness is formless, and you are that. Just notice it's the most intimate sense of yourself. Foundationally, you are aware, and that is prior to any identity that can be constructed. So prior to your body, prior to your mind, prior to your history, prior to your feelings, prior to anything is awareness. And that awareness is formless, it's timeless, it doesn't have a location, it is infinite, eternal, and now, and you are that. So you've probably heard those words before, but you could just notice directly for yourself that that is the case. So this turns out, of course, to be really fundamental, because without this recognition, you have no foundation, and suffering is inevitable. Because if you don't have this recognition, then you have a fundamental ignorance of who you are. So this is what I've been sharing for many years, and it's very important, and nothing has changed about that. But what I have realized, both in my own experience as a person living in this world, I have a family and functioning in this world, so I've realized directly from my own experience, as well as in communicating with others for years now, that even though in the ultimate sense, awareness is absolutely complete, because there's nothing outside of it, and everything that exists is none other than this awareness. But even though that is true, it's also true that so long as we're functioning in this world, so long as there is still somebody doing something, there's still some appearance, there's still some functioning in this world, there's still desire, there's still whatever, then that's not sufficient just to have that awareness of awareness. And I think it's a mistake. I've discovered for myself at least, that it's a mistake, and I really see that it's a fundamental mistake that many people make, believing that they need to kill the ego, or that they should be desireless, or all these kinds of notions. They should just focus on awareness of awareness, awareness of awareness, and exclude everything else. That actually is incorrect, at least for the majority of people. Now, it's true that there is a valid path that we should call a renunciate path, but that's actually not true for the majority, and so it's certainly not true for me. If you're accessing YouTube, you're not a renunciate. If you're a renunciate, you're living in some cave in the Himalayas or something like that. So we have to recognize that if I'm not a renunciate, I shouldn't be trying to follow the renunciate path. And then to recognize that good news is that that's not the only truth. If that was the only truth, then we would have to say, well, then all of this is just a mistake. But it's not a mistake. to say that it's a mistake would admit that there's something outside of what is, which couldn't be true. There's not a possibility of a mistake. So if we accept the inherent perfection in what is, then instead of trying to be something that we're not, we could accept that there's a perfection in what we are at all levels. So yes, at the ultimate level, we are all formless awareness. There's only one. There's not your formless awareness and my formless awareness. But at the individuated level, which is occurring, we can see that directly in our own experience. It turns out that there's something else that we're called to recognize, that there's something else that we're here for. It's not just to blot out the ego and say, I'm only awareness, only awareness, only awareness, only awareness. Why is that necessary? There's no reason why that's necessary. It becomes apparent when you inquire adequately that there's nothing there's no obstacle to awareness. Awareness is fundamental. So the appearance of this life, this individuated self, is not an obstacle for awareness. Awareness is already the case. So they coexist, and one is not a problem for the other. But because our truth, in some sense, is that not only are we formless awareness, but we are also individuated expressions, individuated selves, then we're being invited, and if you just allow yourself to open to this possibility, you might discover that this is true. We're being invited not only to know that we are formless awareness, but also to have self-mastery at all levels, including at the level of expression, at the level of individuation. And so that means coherence. It means recognizing who you are not only as formless awareness, but as an individuated self, and to have coherence and live that authentically. That would be self-mastery. And my proposal to you is that to discover that and live that authentically gives us a true fulfillment. It's not, it can't be realized otherwise. So now the question is, well, what do we do with all of that? If you can even see what I'm pointing to with all of that, then the question is, okay, how do I proceed in a good way without getting lost in the suffering that I've been lost in the past when I was trying to function as this individuated self without the foundation of recognizing my source as formless awareness. So what I'm proposing to you, and I'm not the only one to propose this, is that self-awareness is the answer. So we need to know who we are, not only as formless awareness, but also as an individuated self. So you can notice that there's a unique self expressing as you. And it's clearly different. You're different than Ramana. You're different than me. You're different than a tree. You're different than a bird. So there's something about you that is emanating from and as perfection, as an individuated self, and we're called individually to recognize that and then to express that. And so what do I mean by all that? I mean that there's something that for you is true of who you are, and you can't get to that from the outside in. You can't read a book about who the perfect person is and then try to be that. It's like Ramana's invitation is, be as you are. So be yourself. But you have to look from the core and allow that to express. So the point of all this is that, and I don't know if any of that makes sense to you, and I know it's difficult to try and express all of this, to be honest, but I'm doing my best. If you can see any of what I'm pointing to there, then the question is, well, how do I even begin with all that? I would say from the inside out. So at the subtle levels of nature, we can begin to recognize who am I, and then we can begin to allow that to emerge. And so then the question is, well, what does all that mean? And I'm proposing to you, and again, I'm not the only one to propose this, is that when we observe at a subtle level, we can start to notice that our experience is comprised of energy, and that this energy is coherent and intelligible, meaning that we can recognize a bird as a bird, and a tree as a tree, and a car as a car, and Ramana is Ramana, and that demonstrates that there's coherence and intelligence. It's not just chaos. There's meaning in it. Now, meaning in this case just that there's an order, there's an intelligence, that we can recognize something. And so there's something that you are as an individuated self, and you're being called to allow that to emerge. And in order to do that, we have to recognize what are the fundamental building blocks of experience. So if experience is energy, and that energy is intelligent and coherent, then what are the parts and pieces of that? How can we start to understand what are the what are the foundational coherent elements of experience? And so it turns out, this has been something that people have puzzled over for a long time, and so there are some clues for us. And I'm suggesting that we can start to understand and relate to these foundational building blocks of experience as archetypes. And archetypes, you could just understand, are like units of experience, coherent units of experience, and we can best relate to them as personalities. And so those are described to us or related to us through mythology. So all cultures have their mythologies, and the characters of mythology are the archetypes of experience, or they're personifications of the archetypes of experience. So they exist within us. All of us have these foundational archetypes of experience. It's like in nature, there are foundational components of nature. If you think in traditional terms, then they're elemental, right? So you've got fire, water, earth, and air as examples of the elemental archetypal building blocks of experience. But we can also understand that there are other types of archetypes or components of experience, and those are the personalities that we see in mythology. So a lot of information, but that I'm trying to kind of give in some kind of intelligent way. But the idea here is that all of these personalities or these archetypes exist in us, and they have qualities that are desirable and undesirable in terms of our unique expression. So, as an example, we could take the archetype of what's understood in astrology as Mercury. And in Greek mythology, Mercury is Hermes. The character is Hermes. Hermes is one of the sons of Zeus. So Hermes, as an example, has many qualities, many traits. And so, for example, Hermes we could say is quick-witted. Hermes exaggerates the truth or just outright lies. Hermes is playful. Hermes is maybe also can be somewhat mean-spirited a little bit. Those are just a couple of examples of I don't want to go into too much detail, but you can see that there are qualities there that are desirable or undesirable depending on what it is that you want to express. So who are you? Not everybody is the same. Some people, who they are authentically, it's desirable to stretch the truth or to bold-faced lie. But for you might say, no, that's not desirable at all. That's not authentic to who I am. Now, you might have judgments about people who are different than you, but that's not really helpful because you don't want to have judgments of other people. You want to just be yourself. So if you just look at what's desirable for you in expressing who you are, then you can look at that in relationship to this archetype of Mercury that is existing in you, and you can notice that maybe if you're not relating to this archetype consciously, then what you consider to be undesirable qualities are expressing because they're expressing unconsciously. It's not if you're not conscious about it, then it's going to be whatever it is it expresses. If that energy is there, it's going to come out somehow. And if you relate to it consciously, however, then you can begin to express consciously and cultivate the qualities of that mercurial archetype, which are desirable and in alignment, congruent with who you know yourself to be, who you desire to be in expression. So I hope that has made some kind of sense. Now, I'm wanting to invite you to explore this in more depth with me because I really sincerely believe that it can be valuable for you. And over the next 12 weeks, I'm offering a program called Archetypal Awareness, in which we're going to be exploring these topics and in a practical way and in a way that I think is going to be enjoyable. That will really have a significant positive impact on your quality of life. It will help you to know yourself better at all levels, and it will help you to express more authentically at all levels, and it will give you greater confidence, clearly, because you'll know more clearly who you are and what you want to express and how to begin to express that. So it will give you better relationships with these archetypes within yourself. It will allow you to have greater coherence, less infighting within yourself, less conflict within yourself, because you'll have greater self-knowledge and clarity of who you are at all levels and how to express that authentically, working with these archetypal energies. So I would like to invite you to join me for that, and you can do that by going to joeylott.com, and you'll see that there's a link on the front page for Power of Perception Archetypal Awareness, and you can click on that and then sign up there. So it's offered by donation, and that means that everybody is welcome, regardless of your ability to contribute financially. Of course, I appreciate your financial contributions because they help to support these kinds of programs, which I sincerely know and believe can make a big difference in your quality of life. So I appreciate your financial contributions to the degree that you're able to. And so I've set 3 suggested donation tiers, but if you genuinely don't believe that you have the ability to pay or contribute financially, then there's also a scholarship option, so you can opt for that, and then you can participate for as little as $0. I mean, I just want you to be able to participate. So I think that there shouldn't be any real barrier. I'm publishing this on YouTube, so you're obviously able to watch video and understand spoken English, or my spoken English, and so that's how it's going to be presented. It's over 12 weeks. We're going to be meeting live through Zoom, but also the recordings will be available, so whether you can participate live or not, it doesn't really matter. You can still participate. If you see this late after we get started, you can still join us. Even the recordings will be available indefinitely, so you can still participate in that way, regardless of when you're starting. Actually, I'm intending that we're going to start January 27th, 2023, but it might be a delay if there's due to weather. We recently had a power outage, so if that happens again, we might delay a week. But if you can join us as we're getting started live, that's excellent. If you can't, you can join later. You can watch the recordings. So I think that there really shouldn't be any barrier to participating, other than if I haven't expressed any of this clearly enough, which is entirely possible because it's a lot that I want to that I'm trying to express in some kind of clear way in a relatively short amount of time, although not that short because it's 20 minutes now. But if I've done any kind of reasonable job in expressing this, then maybe this has made sense to you, or maybe you just trust that I'm offering something of value and you're curious and interested, in which case join and find out more, because we're going to be doing this over 12 weeks, so there'll be a lot more opportunity to explore these things. Like I said, it's going to be practical. You're going to learn things that you can apply, that you can see benefits in your life. It's going to be, I think, enjoyable. I'm going to be joined by my friend Ramon Elani, who is going to, I think we're going to have some lively, interesting conversations, be opportunities for you to participate, to ask questions, and share your experience. So I really think it's going to be a great experience for everybody. Love to have you participate. If you have any questions, let me know. And I think I've covered it all. So blessings to you all. I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.